Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Companion, episode number 6. We've got a special show in many people's eyes. I think in most people's eyes, but we're going to get to the bottom of this thing. And the show is 3/22/1993. Gamehenge.
Yes,
The big Gamehenge.
is.
The Crest Theater, Sacramento, California. Beautiful place. Cool place to see a show. But
Yeah,
Sam,
it seems the research I did, it seems really great there. About 1,000 people, really. Yeah,
there's
interesting.
some great copies of this show if you want to listen to it on the Re-Listen app or pretty much anywhere you can find there's soundboards of it. Clear the band was okay with the fans having this. It was leaked a long time ago and became a very, very popular bootleg that people had. This, like all the other shows that we talked about already for the most part, I'm sure Sam and I had pretty early in our Phish fandom and played a pretty big role in forming our ideas about what Gamehenge was about. Is that true, Sam?
Yeah, this was one of my first ever bootleg CDs that I bought at Tower Records or Strawberries back here in New England at one point. I don't know if Strawberries ever made it out west. That was like the high school record store here.
I know just what it looks like with all the shades of blue, right?
It was junk. I think Emily worked there. My other, I think she worked there at one point.
Oh.
I used to steal Ka-singles there when I was real young. I think most people under our age don't know what a Ka-single is.
Oh, Ka-singles were like the biggest ripoff ever. I only had a couple, and I even remember like once I got them home being like, I paid $5 for this.
Yeah. I got hot takes on this show.
Yeah, I think
we
I
also
got some
say
hot
at the
takes
intro,
too.
I kind of like, it's the companion to the companion, and then I like having a secondary tagline. I think my one this week is where two old friends get together and attempt to relive the glory days through a computer. Does that work? The salad days, maybe?
It's certainly true.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
I like salad days.
My hot take on this was possibly favorite show so far, and I was not expecting it.
Interesting.
I absolutely love this show. I think, coming off the last show where it was a lot of, not a lot of improv set to.
Sure.
And a lot of weaving into songs. This show kind of has that too. Not a lot of improv in the second set, a lot of weaving through storytelling. But my God, this theater, this audience, I think that maybe they'd planned on playing a Gamehenge, but I think this was spur of the moment. There's these moments in the first set where, like, especially Stash was where it got me.
Yeah.
Chalk Dust kicks in, good solid opener. Gula also really great, clean, great energy. Uncle Pen, again, high energy, everything's great, but you can tell the audience is very attentive and subdued. Right. And then in Stash, they get down to pin drop silence. And then after Stash, Trey kind of gives this thank you before bouncing, and you can tell that they're like giddy with excitement.
Right.
They can tell it's an audience that is there for them to, I don't know, the dynamic range that opens up in, the whole first set and into the second set of silent to massive. And I thought the jamming was really inspired. The listening was great. All the big hitters really hit for me in this. And I loved the show. I really, it started off kind of, okay, there's going to be another spring 93. And then, man, it just, I don't know. I settled in. I loved it.
Yeah, I love it too. It sounds like maybe I don't love it quite as much as you, but I do want to say that I agree with you wholeheartedly that there is clearly and you can feel it in the tape or the sound. There's just something about the way the whole show sounds that you can feel the calmness. And I don't know what that is. I mean, I guess it has something to do with the fact that there isn't screaming in weird places. And then as soon as they finish the song, it's sort of like people clap almost like they would at a classical concert, or this audience for some reason knew how to show respect, which is something you don't always see.
I hear the room was beautiful too. And that could have some, like we've seen shows at Spreckles. You go in there and you're like, ooh, do I need to...
Right.
Like, when we saw the Flecktones there, we had a box. That was nice. But it's like, do I sit this whole show? What do I do here? When you're in a gorgeous old theater, it commands respect. And I felt like, this show really reeked of that, and in a really nice way.
Without question. Just before we go on, I just want to make a quick side note about Spreckles Theater, which is our local fancy, like 1,500 seat theater in San Diego. Great place. Phish played there in 94. But I saw Ray Davies play at Spreckles Theater. And I guess it must have been like 2006. It was by far the rowdiest, most obnoxious, most like completely uncontrolled audience I've ever seen before. I mean, my wife and I were in stitches laughing at how, I guess he just attracts drunks. And that's like what it was. But I mean, it was insane. Just the whole concert was just rude yelling, and just like he really rolled with the punches. It was still a great show, and it was super fun, and it had a great energy. But just in
that is a red velvet ticket taker at the door, like yes sir, have a good show sir, kind of place. And, it was quite the experience. Anyway, back to this show. Something about the air of this show kind of reminds me of the 614 2000 show in Japan, where I think it's like it's kind of a small show, and it's a combination of a small show with a respectful audience. And I think that's just so unusual when you're listening to Phish shows, where you're not just being bombarded with energy, where it's sort of like the opposite of energy. You can really hear the band do what they do, and hear the nuances. You can hear their instruments breathe, and it is quite special. Yeah, the last two shows we did, both the Anaconda and then the Roxy, they're just so bang, bang, boom, boom, energy in your face. Come on, rah! Like it's pushing all the time. And this show had such a broader dynamic range, which I think infects a lot of Summer 98 that we'll get to soon, or Summer 93 that we'll get to really soon, which defined the band's improvisational next step.
Right.
And I think a lot of that comes from them playing bigger places. Instead of clubs, they're playing theaters. The audience is a little bit further away from the band, probably a little lower. Even if there's big energy, the band can kind of command the air and the space as it got bigger.
Right.
And it seems like this show touches on what's to come. And, all the big songs really hit well.
Yeah. Reba, especially for me, I feel like that was... I liked them all, but Reba was the one I think when it was over, I was just like, whoa.
Oh my God. I wrote, absolutely phenomenal accomplishment. How can you not love this band? Yeah. The audience lets them get so quiet again.
Right.
Like, it was one of those moments. And, there's no little headphones in the Phish Companion on any songs from this, but the Reba and the It's Ice are jam charted on Fishnet.
Right.
But I thought that Bowie was also tight and perfect. The stash was great. I have some, before getting into a broader discussion on something that frustrates me about setlist writing, Sparkle is probably one of my least favorite Phish songs. When I first got into them, it might have been one of my favorites. And then it really, I think the most I've ever seen songs, whenever you run those stats, which I did, many years ago, I think Antelope was number 1 for me, but Sparkle was number 2, or maybe Sparkle was number 1. It seemed to follow me everywhere.
Yeah.
And the joke got old, and I just got burnout on it. But this one,
if you're Antelope, this was a great Sparkle.
There was some extra mustard on it, and that was a moment where I was like, oh shit, this is like, they're even taking it to the simple stuff, It was... Bouncin' was executed perfect too. Like, it was really well played, smaller songs too.
Exactly, which I love. Yeah, I was just gonna say for your Antelope, um, and Sparkle, I think I'm down with Disease and Character Zero, and I think that's just
Yeah.
eras. There, you're just
Sure.
slightly. It just depends on what era you're.
Well, I think Character Zero's up there for me too. I saw a lot of shows at that run, but
yeah.
Yeah.
And Down with Disease is a funny one, is because I got to that point where when they started playing it, I would have to just in my own head be like, damn, another Disease. All right, in 10 minutes, it's going to be amazing, and it's exactly why I'm here, so calm down, There's like part of your brain that kind of like, it knows it's great, it's going to be great, another part of your brain that just wants to see something it hasn't seen in a while, or doesn't want to see the same thing again. But as long as they improvise, it doesn't make any difference.
Then you get into it and you're like, oh, what was I thinking? This is fantastic. What song is this again?
Yeah. But I think this first set is like a really great example of how, like, the way in the modern era people complain about first sets and just like, it's just it's just lots of songs. It's just a really songy first set. And I understand what they're saying, but when you play a songy first set the way they play this set, where every song is being played like it's the last time they're going to play it, and they're really trying to put everything they have into all these performances, and especially what's in a room like this where you can hear every little nuance. It's amazing. It doesn't get any better.
Every song.
I almost feel like in a way I was kind of like glad to not be hearing improvising. I was, or a big jam rather, but I was glad to be able to listen to these beautiful compositions in this environment, played with such love and tender care.
And they breathe. They every song kind of it's not hurried.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I wrote that riff potentially is almost too fast, but they were just playing riff fast at this point. But then the way at A+, even songs that don't, the people talk type 1 this, type 2 that. When Phish is playing well, which I think they are in this set, every song has a little something.
Right.
It's this drum beat flows through this a little different, and that makes Page grab the final beat and throw him off, and then he backs into this new place. And there's these little subtle things that when the band's playing really well and they all pick up on, it's not true natural improvisation, but it really is. They're still within the composition and within the same number of meters and bars in the song, but they're just toying with the composition,
right?
Which is really when they're playing well.
It doesn't
very
seem well
hard
put
for them to execute.
I think as a listener, sometimes, like, in order to pick up on that stuff, you really have to be sort of like headphones on, completely paying attention. Just, I'm not going to miss a second of the song. Whereas like bigger jams, you can just kind of throw it on as you're doing something else. And when it gets to the improvisational section, then your brain's like, I'm going to listen now. So in a way, there are very different listening experiences. But you're right. I was wrong to say that there's not improvisation, because there is. It's just different.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my beef is nothing to do with the band here. I'm so sick of the arrows. They want... An arrow is a segue.
Yeah.
And they put 2 in this set. The way there's an arrow into Reba.
Yeah.
And then the Sparkle, there's an arrow into Bowie.
No.
Just because they don't miss a beat between the two, it's not a fucking segue.
Right.
A segue is when you flow into the next song.
Yeah.
So I would like to start a campaign to remove the segue arrow unless it is an actual segue. Because it's just a band that wrote a set list ahead of time. Yeah. And they look at each other in the last 8 bars of the previous song, and they just kind of give a little hand signal. Go watch the band. Watch any video. There's tons of hand signals. There's tons of little subtle things they're doing. It's just them saying, we're going to snap right into this, and then they do.
Right.
It's not magic. It doesn't deserve an arrow. It's just a band that actually is, planned out what they're going to do. So I'm anti arrow unless it's a true segue.
I many years ago have learned to ignore the arrow. I don't even look at the arrows. I don't even see them anymore because I know that they're not to be taken seriously. I don't even think I'm not sure if they do them on live Phish, but even if they do, I don't think they're very good there either.
There has to be someone who made the call to do it.
Yeah.
at some point there was a meeting and he said, I think we should someone had to go listen to every single show in existence and choose to put or not put an arrow there. And
that meeting might have taken place via two dudes with a bong in front of them, or it could have been in the perhaps the flip phone era of texting. I don't know. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that the communication wasn't at the highest level when they were constructing these set lists.
That's okay.
But second set. So are we finished with the first set?
Yeah, I can be okay.
Yeah.
Everyone does that. I think the reason why the show makes the list is the Gamehenge.
Of course.
But I think what made me love it was this first set.
Right.
The Gamehenge is great. I just think this was it was such a surprise. I knew it was, they're playing so well. But this on its own, if they had come out and done an encore after this set, I would have been like, that's one of the best bands I've ever seen. I would have gone home happy. So to come out, that I don't know if musically the second set stands up if you know the band really well, but I think if you were in attendance, the second set is real magic. So I loved this first set. That's all.
Yeah.
All right.
It was good. I don't think I loved it as much as you, but I'm going to give you points for loving the first set more than me. And I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on it my hardest.
That's okay.
Okay, so there's been 5 Gamehenge total, I believe, performed live.
Yep.
Is that right?
This one's right in the middle.
Why is this the best one? Is it the best one?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't go back and listen to every single one just prior to this, because the next 2 are both on the list.
Yeah. And
we will be discussing them. So this is the first of our 3 Gamehenge discussions.
Okay.
I listened to the 88 one a few times.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun.
Right.
And I've never, from what I know, I mean, I'm sure at one point early on, I, sought out a tape of the 91 version, but I can't remember it at all. And I know it's kind of regarded as not as good. I mean, how far do we want to go into Gamehenge here? I don't know if you and I we could spend 2 or 3 hours really breaking this down, but it's, Trey's senior thesis, The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday. Right. It's a loose collection of songs that sometimes contain some, sometimes don't. And he tells stories that link them all together loosely.
Correct. Although the story has a general arc that's based on traditional mythology. And it's a great story.
The hero's journey.
The hero's journey. Yeah. I do think, I just want to say, I've listened to all of them except the 91 one as well. So I've heard the 88 one, I've heard this one, and then the next 2. And I would say the 88 has like a goofy kind of quality to it, and just the playing is very different. So it's its own thing. And between this one and the 2 that will come after it, and I've listened to the 7/8 recently, but not the 6/26 in some years. But I always remember loving the narration of this one because of the sincerity of Trey. I think
it's that room again too.
Yeah, I think Trey is so genuinely moved by the audience. And I think that it puts him in a mood to be like, I'm really going to share my heart. I'm going to open myself up. And he tells the story with such tenderness. And he's very composed. There's not as many like weird tangents and moments where he's dynamically off. Like in the other ones, I think they're bigger shows. He's got a little bit more going on in his brain. And I think because he's calm, it has an effect on the performance that really comes through in the songs for me. But again, like you said, we'll be discussing all 3. So I'm kind of curious as to once we kind of
I think maybe the bigger shows, like you say. I always saw, my Gamehenge experiences were mostly, 7/8. I listened was my first show ever was 7/9/94, so the night after.
Yeah.
And everyone was talking Gamehenge this, Gamehenge that. I kind of knew what it was, but there's so much myth and lore, and this was just tape trading time and pre-internet pretty much, or the beginning days of internet. So it was very, it was mystical. Yeah. And, when I listen back to those shows now, He seems a little embarrassed by some parts of the story as being too kiddish or too goofy, but in this telling, not at all.
Right.
I think I don't get a feeling of embarrassment. I get a feeling of wonder and pride and an attempt to try to bring this small, attentive audience on this journey. And likewise, I feel like in some of the later versions, and I think why I believe the band has never played it is because Phish is a unit that exists as 4 members unto themselves, and I think they probably had a talk. I'm speculating, but that's what this is all about. Podcast where 2 men further on in years speculate about speculation. I like that. I speculate that they sat down and said Trey felt awkward because the rest of this was his thing.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Phish thing.
Right.
And I think Phish had grown so much as songwriters, so much as a band, and he felt egotistical by narrating the whole Gamehenge story to the point where it pulled him out of the egoless adventure of a Phish concert for him.
Right.
And I think the rest of the band felt left out sometimes with this, with this long storytelling format. I'm just guessing.
I 100% agree with you, and it's also rumored that Mike didn't like it because it's Trey's thing, or as people would say these days, Mike says no. But I don't know. I mean, that's just, those are rumors.
By the time you're in your late 20s, early 30s, you've moved on from your college thesis, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not one of those people who, oh my God, I need to see a Gamehenge again. Maybe they'll play it. But I was also one of those people like, here I am at New Year's 99 in Florida. Are they going to play Gamehenge in one of these 6 sets? Like, where they would roll it out at a big event for a big, reason, or and they never have, and I respect them for it.
Yeah. And I think that they're too big for it to possess its magical power as it does at the show. I think if you were to have been at the show and listened to the story, you wouldn't necessarily view it as like that was childlike and silly. You'd be like, what a cool thing that band just did. They just took me on a journey in my brain,
It's so well told too.
Yeah.
Right? The story makes a lot of sense in this version.
Yes.
And I would reference, we're not a reading podcast, so I could spend 20 minutes reading this, but get the book, page 789. It's way at the end in the appendix of the book. Under G, Gamehenge, the mythical land and the man who stepped into yesterday. There is a really cool description, all in alphabetical order, of every single character in Gamehenge.
Yeah.
What they do, everything about them. And I really recommend anyone going and reading through this. If you've never heard of Gamehenge, you don't know what it is, that's a great reference point to start.
Right.
And there's a lot of places you can read that on the internet too. I think the story was built around the characters.
Yeah.
And it's a cool way to read through the characters.
And I feel like some of those characters, or some of the names of characters, were probably like inside jokes from their younger years, which I think is cool. It adds a sort of lightness and a humor to it, which I really like. Characters.
Yeah, there was less direct humor.
Yeah,
there's less direct humor in the show, and almost no covers again.
Right.
Take the encore away. So I feel like the humor does come through in a subtle way like that through the story.
Right.
And there's the lines of like doing things that smart people wouldn't do.
Of course. Yeah.
From doing things that smart people
don't do.
Don't do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like there's really funny lines in the songs.
Oh yeah.
And I think the lyrics really jump from the page really well in this telling of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I must have heard Sloth like 15 times before I actually heard the Rip Van Winklen like line. And once I did hear it, I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. And every time I hear Rip Van Winklen, I always crack up. There's some great lines in there.
Yeah, and then each of the songs has great lines.
The amazing part, which I believe it's right before Forbin's, where Trey kind of stalls out on the narration. Like he's talking, and then all of a sudden he stops talking, and it's totally silent for a second. And then he says, "Oh, sorry, I was just looking at this guy for a second."
To help the... Sorry, just looking at this guy down here. These people are in with Wilson.
Yeah, just checking out this guy.
So,
I like
and
that part a lot.
And when I was reading reviews on Fishnet, I actually saw that somebody who was at the show explained what that was all about. And I guess there was a security guard who was the whole first set completely ignoring the show, just kind of standing on the side, just pretending like he wasn't even at a concert. Just like serious looking. And then they started playing Gamehenge. And then right before this happened, the security guard walked right on the rail, walked right into the middle of the stage, right in front of Trey, and stopped to pet a Cookie Monster doll that one of the fans had, like right on the front row. And Trey was watching this large security guard pet a Cookie Monster doll. So apparently that's the context for that line. But yeah, I didn't think I'd ever know that, but thank you for the guy who wrote that review.
I love reviews. I love them because they're one person's experience. And sometimes, there's a review trashing this show.
Yeah, a couple.
And that's great. Like, I like healthy debate. I think we all love the band. And if you're there and you're like, bah, 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 like, it's fine. That's why we do this. So if we start at the top, the Golgi, another, like, Chalk Dust opening set 1, Golgi opening set 2, fantastic. But then my question on the It's Ice, why is this on a jam chart?
Yeah, no.
Because there's no jam.
No, just normal.
It instantly just goes directly into Lizards again.
Correct.
And the story. Well, the pre-Lizard story.
Yeah.
Just immediately without a jam. And I love the way the story flows out of it and all. But are they trying to say it's a jam chart version because it's all of the rest of Gamehenge? I went up high then.
I don't know. I thought the same thing as you. Because I saw it was on there, and then I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, that was just normal." So I don't know.
Should I not pay attention to these charts?
Yeah, but it was a good It's Ice, but nothing necessarily special.
But I mean, by the time it gets to Lizards, if you're a fan or not a fan of the band, you got to be on board.
Yeah,
like it is really well told intro.
Yes.
Okay, this story takes place. I'm just doing this because I haven't had such a great, attentive, quiet audience in such a long time, years. So I want to tell you guys this story here. Okay, what we were just singing about there in that last song here is this thing where the guy is skating out in the middle of the ice, and he's sort of attached to his mirror image on the ice, and he starts to have a battle with his mirror image. And his mirror image reaches up and is trying to drag him down into the ice. And right now we're kind of sunk down into the ice, below the ice. And down in this ice here, we're going to kind of travel down into a different land. Now, if you come with me, please, you kind of picture off in the distance here, a green field stretching off in the distance, and the forest rising up over that way, and a mountain coming up out of the forest. And this is a place called Gamehenge. Now,
and the Lizards is so well executed, and then Tila, which I think that was always a diamond in the rough to see in concert as well. And it seems like every time I hear it, I'm always blown away by what a gorgeous composition it is.
Yeah, and this was a great version too. I felt like Trey's solo at the end had some electricity to it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any version from this that is a like best version ever of the song.
No,
but every version is played really, really well.
Yeah,
with this is another moment through the solo that it's such a strange melody. It reminds me of how Billy Breathes. The solo is it's like Trey attempts to not play inside the melody. He's kind of weaving around it a little bit.
Yeah, interesting.
And so oftentimes there's notes that might sound slightly sour.
Right.
But I think there's a purposeful atonality to it. And in this room, it just sounds gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he's not trying to achieve this huge, big rock solo. It's just really well done. And, I'm astounded by the audience the whole time. I think they deserve a hand at the end of this too. Like,
I agree.
How much I've dreamed of being at shows with quiet, attentive people. I mean, like, the problem with couch tour is you're on your fucking couch. You're not like, the energy in a room is so electric and so much fun.
Yeah.
But for most of the show, I don't even clap after some songs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's 12,000 people clapping. I can cheer, it's going to sound really cheesy, but I can cheer with my heart and with my energy. And I would rather half the people did that. I don't know.
There's our podcast name. Cheer with your heart.
Cheer with your heart. But I felt this way when I was 20 too. It's not like it's an old man thing for me. I was always just frustrated. Like, will all of you shut up and stop talking about your day to your neighbor while we're watching a fucking concert here?
Oh, it can be so infuriating. I mean, it can ruin shows, but not this show.
This show is not it.
So Tila into Wilson.
Yeah.
Wilson was good. I don't have any notes, but I remember it was a solid Wilson. Like you said, nothing necessarily to write home about, but the storytelling was great. And then we get to AC/DC Bag, another fairly standard
high
version.
energy, short.
Yeah.
But great.
It's kind of funny when I first saw like the name AC/DC Bag on a song. I was like, well, that's a silly name for a song. That's going to be. And then I listened to the song and it was like, AC/DC Bag. It's got a little poppy bounce and stuff. But the build in the second half is just can be so intense that I don't think of it that way anymore, I guess. But as I'm like really thinking about the song and kind of analyzing it, I suppose it is kind of a silly song, and the lyrics are very much of their junior high school era like type sense of humors. But
the reason why it's AC/DC Bag is chordal. So the chords are A, C, D, C, F, A, G.
Right.
But they can't, that wouldn't be as easy a lyric.
Right.
So they just put a B instead of the F.
Right.
And so therefore this like evil robot murderous machine, it actually comes from the chord structure, which I find really stupid and junior high-ish and funny as well. I think it's great.
Totally. And they had to class to leave the F out. Good job, guys.
Well, I don't think they could get away with, nor should they.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people tell me that the Baggett line in Reba comes off incorrect as well, but that might be a discussion for another time.
Comes off. Okay. And for another time. Moving on then.
Yeah. To Forbin's Mockingbird. Yes.
Yeah. The centerpiece, I think, of Gamehenge, at least to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the tension release in the middle.
Okay.
It's the action, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's climbing the mountain. It's a big, it's the adventure part.
I guess that's true. It is the
intense part.
It's the action sequence. And I also think that both of these songs have how do I put this? Like a Broadway-esque nature to them. More so than rock songs. Like they are kind of like a lot of these other songs when they're played in the context of a Phish show, they don't stand out necessarily because they fit in with their repertoire. But I feel like Forbin's and Mockingbird are kind of their own thing. They have their own feel to them, and when they are played at other shows, you're like, whoa, this really kind of stands out. There's just so much. Yeah. I guess they're similar to the Curtain. Like, I mean, they have other compositions that are like that. It's not like they're totally unusual, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I think they benefit from the dynamics in the room too.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
Big, loud to real quiet, and every single time I forget about the bass solo at the end of Mockingbird, and this one again is awesome. It makes me happy.
I wrote down next to this Mockingbird, or not Mockingbird, lots of verve. So
yeah. I thought it was great. And both of them were played really, really solid. And at the end, I have a note at the end of Mockingbird. There's almost no cheering. Yeah. It's the quietest end of a song at what you would call a rock concert that I've ever heard.
Right.
It gets to the end and it's like, they go from that into narration, and, Trey can be almost whispering because there's no cheering. And I'm not sure if it's the situation where everybody that's there is just mesmerized.
Right.
Or if they're not sure the song is over, or if they figure that there's just going to be more storytelling, so they don't. Do I need to cheer? Either way, it leaves, as a listener, it leaves you in this really cool place. Yeah, it makes you feel really there, rather than sometimes the cheering will pull me out. Like some guy will scream at a random place in a song and it'll kind of pull me out of the song. Or like that one cheer will always be there in my mind every time I listen to the song from a certain show. But this one, it was so great to have it be so quiet again.
Yeah.
And then Sloth.
What's that?
Then Sloth again.
Then Sloth. Rocked it.
Yeah. And McGrupp, which I really liked.
Yeah, McGrupp was a highlight of the set for me. I thought there was like a little groove, like right towards the end, just as they were finishing, that I was like, oh, this is sick.
I always forget this song too, because you don't see it that much.
Right.
And there's the versions where Page just kind of takes it out on his own for a stretch.
Yeah.
And then there's some where the whole band interplay happens. There's somewhere it's kind of a little bit of both.
Right.
And I've seen some really unique and intricate and different versions of it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then there's that one Europe
625, 97.
Yes, that is
Lille, France.
Off the wall, then very different. But
I was gonna say that's a favorite. I love the Shoreline 98 version. I really like that.
Yeah, that one was fun.
And then of course the Darien Lake 8793 masterpiece is probably my go-to McGrupp. And then to finish it off, we got Mike's Hydrogen Weekapaw, right?
Yeah, I was a little underwhelmed by this.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
On paper, you're like, all right, they open up with a good opener. The It's Ice kind of is part of the Gamehenge story. Beautiful Gamehenge story. And maybe they just didn't have gas left in the tank. There's some... I wrote it about 6 minutes into Mike. There's some really interesting jamming.
I have some descending syncopation with Trey and Page on the deep screech is what I wrote.
Yeah,
I think it was right around there.
That's an interesting moment. But I mean, when you go Mike's Hydrogen Weekapaw, it's like Mike's is this huge, dark, breathing monster a lot of the time, and I don't think it called for that.
Yeah.
And maybe they pulled an audible and they just wanted to play this, or maybe it was written down.
Yeah.
But maybe it should have been a different piece. I'm not sure.
Right.
It was really well played. And then our joke about the sundown tease in Weekapaw, that was funny and really like out there. And there was good moments. It just wasn't. The Weekapaws, especially on this tour, both the earlier '92 shows we've been listening to a lot and talking about, and then into '93 were just smokers.
Right.
And this one was, more like it filled its job, and it was good.
The sundown tease is the highlight of the Weekapaw for me. And I say that because this was one of my first bootlegs that I had, and I just kind of assumed Mike made that up. It didn't there wasn't a way that you could look up what that tease was. And frankly, I don't know who the genius is that put together that's sundown. I mean, the tempo is totally different. I mean, I get it. Like, I can listen to sundown and I can listen to the tease and I can be like, oh yeah, that's obviously sundown. But I mean, if you were at that show and you saw that, I don't know who's picking that out as sundown. But maybe somebody. It wasn't like the most exciting Weekapaw, but that moment was like, man, this bassist is a genius. This bass line has been in my head for like 2 weeks. I guess.
And the recordings, like I remember when I got the bootleg CD, the recordings of it sounded so great that this was my first like really highly well recorded Mike's Hydrogen Weekapaw, and I was excited to listen to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's never been on an album, or it was good to have.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you were talking about how it's kind of like maybe a bad match for the end of the set, which may be true, but I think because this was such an early tape and the Gamehenge was kind of like you would listen to it and be like, go into Phish World, and then I feel like Mike's Hydrogen Weekapaw was kind of like another thing of theirs that was like Phish World. It was like their own sort of, Weekapaw was this like fantasy fish place, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And Mike's talking and whatever. I think my point is made, but I feel
Yeah,
like it was a good end to that set. In that I was like, I really feel like I was just taken on an adventure to a different land, kind of like a kid in an adventure movie or something akin to that. It was like an experience. And so I liked it as a closing there. But when on re-listen, you're right. It was kind of like a harsh juxtaposition.
Yeah. But, we're nitpicking something that's really well done. And then to encore, Amazing Grace a cappella, I'll see that 10 nights out of 10. Perfect. Right when you come out for the encore moment. And then it shocked me a little suddenly when the fire started and it wasn't the soundboard anymore.
Right.
So I guess the encore just wasn't released, which is fine.
Yeah.
And how many fire closers are we going to have to listen to through this list?
I don't
know. Like, I'm kind of taking them one show at a time, but we're at show 6 and this is at least, 3, 4?
I know. So, give us Johnny Be Good, for Christ's sakes.
Just anything. I remember, I not to let in way too much on our high tech process, but I've begun listening to episode 7 a little bit, and it's the same 2 songs to open up again.
Really?
It's Jock Dust and Gula again, and I'm like, I didn't look. I'm like, am I gonna have another fire closer? This does not make any. But it's Amazing Grace as the encore. So I'm just
And again, we're kind of nitpicking because most bands just play the whole set list every night, and it was like the era. But I do feel like at a certain point, we as Phish fans just became so spoiled that we kind of forget about the periods where things were fairly routine. I mean, in '93 there was a period where they opened like almost every second set with 2001, right?
Yes.
And then when
the song of the summer, it's coming.
Yeah, and then when we were on tour in '98 in the beginning, we saw MoMA dance, 4 out of our first 5 shows?
And I'd say half of the shows closed the first set or encored with Character Zero.
Yeah.
Which we were like, and honestly, I think not my favorite lyrics, but when the jam starts happening and it actually gets that big swing to it, I love seeing Character Zero live.
Oh yeah.
Because 97, 98 versions were so there was such a groove to them.
Yeah.
And, big walking bass lines from Mike and, really let Trey kind of guitar hero. But I think the rest of the band always stepped up. So I'm a fan.
And I want to say, was it, because we were talking about Irvine last time, I think, or maybe the time before, but it was either 99 or 2000 where there was like a Type 2 Character Zero. Do you remember that? Yeah.
That was so much fun, that show. It was 2000, I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
maybe 99. I remember I was there with Chris Bearden and Ryan's girlfriend at the time. I'm not Andy. There's a picture of me there with them, memory. So that's how I always remember.
Good memory.
But that whole show was awesome. There was the sand. I remember being great.
Right.
I just danced so hard that night. I had so much fun, and but yeah, good Type 2 Character Zero.
Well, let's wrap it up, huh? We've been going for a little while.
Sure.
Any notes or recommendations we want to add?
I think that's it. I just really recommend everyone give this one a listen. Really enjoy the first set, and the next episode 7, next episode we will be closing out this tour, which is the single longest tour the band ever played.
Wow.
Over 70 shows. I think it's 71, all in the spring.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to hear the Roxy early on, this kind of in the middle, and the next show being 5/8/93 at the UNH Fieldhouse, which is 40 minutes from here.
Right.
It's not there anymore, but it was a pretty cool place from what I hear, and I know people that were at that show, and is really lauded. So I'm excited to listen to that, and
it's an official release.
Yes.
And it's great. I love that show. Bowie.
Yeah, so I'm excited to give that one another listen too. And I'm really excited to be into 93 now. These shows are, such a joy. And I really am trying to lay off as much Phish as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, they keep doing things like throwing the Island Tour video up. I had to watch that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And sloppy, like we talked about. There's a lot of sloppy moments, but just moments of genius in that show. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was my life. That was my real time seeing that band so much. And so seeing them on stage again, and the lighting, the lighting rig changes every year, but seeing that, the 98 rig was, it was really brought a lot back.
Yeah, absolutely. And great lizards, as long as we're talking Gamehenge. Love Page and that lizards.
Yeah.
I know we're just about to wrap up, but I just want to make a comment as long as you brought up the Island Tour and we're talking about early shows. There's a guy, David Steinberg, who is kind of known for being the Phish taper. He was like at all the early shows doing all the taping, and then he kind of became famous with band, and he's on like the podcasts and stuff. I follow him on Twitter. And he was kind of funny when everybody was like losing their shit over the Island Tour, just being like, this is the greatest thing ever, which is always it's amazing. It's always a little bit frustrating when people overgush. But he just said, he's like, I really appreciate the Cowfunk era, and I can listen to it for like 25 minutes and like totally be in the groove, but I came from a different era where 90 and 91 were like my big years, and I love these tight, compact, fast jams where they're super listening to each other. And he made like a really good point in terms of just how drastically different periods of this band can be. And I appreciated that he threw that out there, because I'm sure he took a world of shit for it. But listening to these early shows, I think about that a lot, or especially as I'm watching the Island Tour, and there are parts of it where I'm just like, this is really blowing my skull wide open. There are other parts of it that are just like, oh man, if this was happening in the early 90s. So,
well, the shows we're reviewing now, 92, 93, they became popular through word of mouth in the fan community. And I think there's even, I'll go all the way to like, the end of Phish 1.0. Most of those shows were popular at the time because of the community.
Right.
And because people talking about it. Either it was a special event, or it was because it the tape circulated like this one. But I think 2 and 3.0, they're just so internet review based. The world is.
Yeah.
And it's not the band. Everything is internet reviewed. And that's why now, I pay attention to the tours. I don't watch as many shows. I'm not hating on 3.0. I'm just, it's not for me in the same way.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I read some of these reviews, and, if you go on Fishnet and you want to look at the top 100 shows on Fishnet, half of them are 3.0.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going online and fucking rating these shows and say, of course you had an amazing night last night. And of course you're going to say this is one of the best shows in the last 10 years and give it, I'd give it 6 out of 5 if I could. That's awesome. But like this band has such a wealth of, history behind them that if you're not weighing it against all of that, then you can say I'm having a great time, but you giving it this, a numerical review that puts it in this thing isn't really fair in that moment.
No, it's not. But, obviously the 1.0 to 2.0 is, or 1.0 to 3.0 is its own thing. But just, I appreciate when people point out nuance. I prefer summer 97 to fall 97, or, the fact that David Steinberg is going, I like 90 and 91 better than 98. Is like, it's not wrong. Like you said, it's just different. You're just coming from a different place, because I can understand if you're like a hardcore musician and you listen to the Island Tour, you could go either way with it. You could be like, I'm really impressed with the fact that these guys can improvise and they can listen to each other and do this. But I can also see a musician being like, my God, this is horribly messy, and just like, it's so unfocused, and there's, no taste, or whatever it is, I wouldn't agree with that, but it's
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I get it. I've always thought it was overhyped, even though I really enjoy listening to it.
Yeah.
I just, if I was to cherry pick 4 shows from summer 98, they would all crush all 4 Island Tour shows, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to get to those too in this list. Don't you worry. And we will get to both of those.
Yeah.
And I think once we get to, 95, 6, you and I will have a lot more shows that we think should have made it. Whereas
Yeah,
at this point,
that's probably true.
in all fairness, I haven't listened to all 71 shows from the spring 93 tour.
Right.
But I have listened to a lot of them. And we talked about other shows around this, like 331, that I love to death. That show is incredible. And there's a bunch of other ones, but April 93, I'm not, that familiar.
Right.
Whereas I think once we get to later on, you and I have a lot of, familiarity through the whole tour.
Right.
So
I do remember listening to August 93 straight through. Like,
kind
the
of
whole
sounds
month.
nice.
A lot of great shows. And I remember just like us talking and just being like, how are they this consistent? Like, this is crazy.
And weird.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about some of that weirdness.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's say goodbye. Thanks everyone for listening. If you did, appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be back soon with 5/8/93 UNH Fieldhouse closing out the spring tour.
Could you tell that was Jessica?
There's a lot of little headphones in the book on that one. So
all right.
Yeah, we'll see all you guys for episode 7 next time. Hello there, friends, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like to reach out to Ian and I about anything at all, you can find us at companion2thecompanion@gmail.com.